All right, so more Francis Ngannou news. Not good. More not good news for Francis Ngannou. And I just feel like I should just say that I don't like reporting bad news on Francis at all. I don't like it at all. And I watched Beige Frequency's documentary about Francis that he put out yesterday, which I highly suggest you guys go watch. And it changed my perspective on this whole thing, which is actually kind of ridiculous. It's basically like I had lost sight of something that was very, very critical to this entire story that now I have sight of again. And it really does change things for me. That said, this news that I'm going to report on is not good. Very much not good. But I am going to, it's like, it seems like Francis's options are going away, right? Like that's what we're going to report. I mean, just straight up here. Boom. Anthony Joshua confirms he's fighting against Deontay Wilder in December. Okay, so that's where we're going, okay? And then there is other news. But here's the other thing that I'm going to talk about in this video. I have a way that Francis can still make these super fights happen. It's just not as cut and dry as it would have been. You know what I mean? Like it could have been very cut and dry. We could have had a book fight. We could have, all that. Like that could have happened. It's not happening. But Francis has never done anything the easy way, dude. Right? He always does it the hard way. And there is a hard way to get him exactly where he wants to go. And there is a world where this ends up being a benefit to him. So I'm going to lay that out as I do in some cases where I kind of use more of my brain than just kind of going blah, blah, blah. So if you like the content, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell. We're almost at 110,000. And I would appreciate you guys if you, kick it up. Anybody that could just kick it up, even one person, every single subscriber matters. You all matter to me, except for the ones that get mad and then rage unsubscribe. Then I'm breaking up with you. You're not breaking up with me. I don't care about you. You're breaking up with, I'm breaking up with, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so yeah, no, but go ahead and like the video, comment on the video. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. And like I said, subscribe if you haven't yet. All right. So here's, like I said, where we're at. You got Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua are fighting in December. So what does this mean for Francis? It means that 2 more of his potential, huge boxing heavyweight fights are off the table. Okay. And honestly, it's kind of a wrap, dude. It's kind of a wrap for this round of can we get a big prize fight for Francis? Tyson Fury, obviously not in the conversation at all because he was going to fight Usyk. That fell out. Francis not in the conversation. He goes directly to Ruiz. So now he's fighting Ruiz. Okay. So Francis was not in that conversation. There's no indication that he would be in future conversations at this time. Okay. So you got Eddie Hearn does a lunch with Francis and he says, yeah, I would love to do something. I would love to do something with Francis. He's got an incredible story, yeah, I'd love to do something. So the headline, Eddie Hearn wants to work with Francis. It's like, all right. Apparently people don't work in this type of business, right? Where and what I mean by this type of business is like everything is an idea. You have lunches about it. And then sometimes things come together. You put on a big spectacle, but you say lots of things. Oh, I'd love to work with that person. You're keeping all your options open. The second that he goes, yeah, I would love to work with Francis. And then right underneath that, he's like, but right now we're focused on blah, 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 means that's not happening. Okay. Means it's not happening. And that is proven right now because Anthony Joshua is now going, because he said he'd love to do Anthony Joshua against Francis. Well, now Anthony Joshua is going against Deontay Wilder, which would have been the most interesting fight of all of them, Deontay versus Francis. But so, listen, dude, I'm open to suggestions of how you guys think that this is going to play out for Francis. If the UFC has genuinely closed the door on Francis. Well, here's the other thing, actually, before I even get into that. Here's the thing where my perspective has changed. Okay. So, another thing too, at the end of this, let's talk about Nate Diaz. I forgot about that. I should have said that at the beginning. At the end of this video, if you made it this far, bonus, we'll talk about the Nate Diaz. There are new angles on the street fight, which totally exonerate Nate Diaz. We'll talk about that after. Anyway, so here's where my perspective changed. Okay. So I watched Beige Frequency's video yesterday, which is, if I'm not mistaken, called "Did Francis Fumble the Bag?" I posted it on my community page. And as a lot of you guys know, I was very close to this entire Francis thing. Like I was, like this is like one of the only situations where I was not like reading headlines and stuff. Like I knew what was going on. I knew where everything was at. I just knew where everything was at, right? And so in that process of helping strategize, right, about what he should do, how they should respond, like all kinds of like stuff like that, I had lost track of something that Beige Frequency did an excellent job of bringing up in his video, which is that for Francis, this isn't just about money. And I know Francis has said that, but in my opinion, as usual, which, for better or worse, Francis is not very good at promoting himself. He has the most incredible story ever, the most inspirational story of all time. He just isn't, he doesn't have that thing, he doesn't have that thing where, he is not a star. And I don't mean that as a pejorative or I don't mean that as like a negative thing necessarily. The reason he has profile is because he's such an exceptional fighter and such an exceptional person, right? Like in terms of like his ability to overcome obstacles and do things that other people would not be able to do. His story is incredibly inspiring. But the star thing, you either have it or you don't. It's just that simple, dude. Like you either have it or you don't. There are certain people that are stars, dude. Like it just is what it is. And Kevin Holland is a star. Israel Adesanya is a star. Conor McGregor is a star. Chael Sonnen is a star. George Masvidal is a star. Nate Diaz is a star. Cody Garbrandt is a star. You put a microphone in front of these guys, they start talking, and you feel just this magnetic pull. Like there's something about guys where you're very much drawn in when they talk. And so it's like some of them are exceptional at promoting themselves also. Khabib, star, right? And I mean, even managers, even managers, it's not just about fighters. Ali Abdelaziz, love him, hate him, star. He's a manager. Everyone knows who he is. Why? Star. That's all it means. It doesn't mean it has no saying someone's a star has absolutely no connotation of anything other than, do they have that magneticism to them where people look and they're like, okay, I'm interested in this person. You know what I mean? And some people just don't have it. You know what I mean? Like they just don't have it. Francis doesn't have it. Stipe doesn't have it. The reason that those guys have profile is because they're exceptional at their craft. John Jones, star, always was a star, right? And yeah, damn. Now I'm just like, let's just play the who's this? Darren Till, star. Jake Paul, Logan Paul, stars. You know what I mean? And then there are a million people I could pick that are not. A million. So my point with all of that is that Francis does not do a good job of promoting himself. And that comes in addition to the fact that he doesn't have that thing, right? And what I mean by he doesn't do a good job of promoting himself is his story. The reason why people should be tied to it, the reason why I'm tied to it, is because of the journey that he went through to get to where he is. And a huge, massive piece of that is what was his dream. What was his dream when he was paddling across the ocean with his bare fucking hands in a dinghy with 10 other refugees whose dream it is just to get to the other side. Now, Francis, it wasn't just let me get to the West. Let me get to the West so that, was it to be the UFC champion? No. It was to be the heavyweight boxing champion. That was his dream, right? And so when I really wrapped my brain around that, when Beige Frequency put that in the documentary and I really thought about that, I was like, man, I lost track of that. I've been looking at this from a business perspective, basically that like his boxing match was about maximizing revenue, maximizing his dollar amount that he's going to earn. And now that I've kind of revisited, it's like, oh, okay, it's not just about that. That's why when he kept saying it's about freedom from the UFC, freedom, 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 he's not just talking about freedom, like what he's saying, they're not letting me box. They won't give me the freedom to box. That's what he's actually saying. When he's talking about freedom with the UFC, he's talking about the freedom to box, because boxing was his dream. That's what he was actually after. And so that changes things for me. Now, he still fumbled the bag and completely fucked up. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. He fucked up. He did. He fucked up. I understand exactly why. And nonetheless, and honestly, having been as close to this thing as I was, again, watching that video yesterday gave me additional insight that was like, okay, I at least kind of understand where Francis' brain was at. And I can tell, and I'll share that with you guys. So where Francis fucked up is when CAA shuttered their MMA division, which is where Markel, his manager, was. Francis chose not to go with Markel when Markel went independent, right? So Markel's like, CAA shuttering, but we're continuing on. All these things we've been working on, like those are still in action. Like, we're just not going to be doing it under CAA umbrella. And Francis is like, well, no, I'm with CAA. And Markel's like, no, you're with me. Like, I was just doing it under the CAA umbrella. Like, nothing's going to change. We're just going to be independent on our own. And Francis is like, no. And so Francis didn't go with him. Okay. Catastrophic mistake. Catastrophic. And the proof is very easy to measure, right? With Markel in the ring in Wembley Stadium after Tyson Fury wins his fight. April 2022. So a year ago, right? A year ago, he's in the ring with Tyson Fury in England, Wembley Stadium with Markel, and they're announcing a mixed rules boxing match in MMA gloves. My fucking idea, by the way, for the 1,000th time. And without Markel, Tyson Fury is fighting anyone except Francis, right? Like just one example, right? Now, why did Francis make that decision? This is where I'm going. This is where, again, like watching this documentary and hearing Francis in his own words say a thing, it made me connect another dot, which was, he said to Ariel, when he was talking about not having a manager, he said the words, at a certain point with UFC, you have to kiss the ring. Now, I could tell you 100% Markel was never going to do that. And that's because Markel's vision for what was going to be next for Francis was a Tyson Fury fight. And so why would he kiss the ring at the UFC when his focus is on getting Francis the Tyson Fury fight? He didn't want to do a deal with UFC. I mean, straight up, he didn't want to do it. I'm not saying that's good, bad, or other. That's just what happened. He was trying to put together the boxing match because that's what Francis wanted. What was going on in the background, UFC is not talking to Markel because they don't want to deal with him. They've been very clear, like we don't want to deal with him, for better or worse, whatever. And they are, like Dana said, Hunter is doing dinner after dinner after dinner with Francis, and they're talking about what what his forthcoming. By the way, it's like hailing here all of a sudden. If that sounds loud, that's what it is. Hope my car's all right. But so they're talking about what the forthcoming offer is going to be for Francis, right? And indicating, I would imagine, that they're going to give him boxing and they're going to give him all of these things and they're making him think that that's going to be a part of the deal. And Francis is negotiating this himself, he thinks, because they aren't interacting with Markel. They're not. They're going to dinners with him. Markel is trying to get him a boxing match. And so when he says that he at certain point needs to kiss the ring, what he is indicating when he says that is he wanted to go back to UFC, but only if they were going to give him boxing, which he was probably at the time expecting they were going to give him. And then he found out after he had not stayed with Markel that they were not going to give him boxing, that they were strategically I can't verify this. I can't tell you whether they were saying they were going to give him boxing, whatever. I'm speculating, right? But I do know that Francis was intending on doing a deal with the UFC at a certain point, and he didn't do it. And I can only imagine that that's because when the terms actually came out, what they said was, you know, what he expected to be in there wasn't in there, which I assume is boxing. So, I understand the decision Francis made, but to me, I can't see this as anything other than Francis got played by the UFC masterfully, brilliantly. Jesus, dude, it is. Can you guys hear? I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it is like, it was like a thunderstorm warning all day, and it just hit, dude. Like thunder, hail, dude.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, can you hear? I'm recording a video, but like,
Oh, sorry.
no, it's all right. But like, I was just saying, I'm like, I don't know if everybody can hear this, but like,
I couldn't even hear you.
here, come over here, Gabrielle.
From out here.
Yeah. What?
Nothing. Hi.
Hi.
What are you talking about?
Talking about Francis. Because check it. Not that you have any idea what that
Your
means.
car's okay.
I know, I was just thinking that. The one time that we didn't put it in for a hailstorm.
They're not over an inch, but
Yeah, basically if hail is going to be over an inch, it'll damage your car. Okay, I got to finish recording this. Like, this is actually like a recording. Like, I'm not live.
Hi, bye.
What are we going to go to dinner after this? I mean, we could drive there.
It's a severe thunderstorm. Do not leave your house.
That's what they said?
Is the weather warning.
Well, let's get drunk here then.
I'm just going to set a glass of wine.
Anywho, so yeah. So Francis has an offer from ONE FC coming, right, this weekend. And here's the deal. Okay, so now I'm getting to the point where I'm going to lay out what Francis is going to need to do in order to get one of these fights now. Okay, so his goal is to fight, you know, Deontay or Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury. That's what his goal is, right? He wants to fight for the heavyweight title. So the ONE FC contract inevitably is going to allow him to box. Whether they are going to promote it, co-promote it, whatever, that is going to be part of this contract for sure, right? So what Francis is going to need to do now is he's going to need to box. And he's going to have to win. That's the only way that this happens. Francis needs to box, and they could put whoever in front of him. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't need to be a good opponent, but he needs to box and he needs to starch his opponent. Maybe even fight twice. Starch both guys. Build buzz. That is how this happens. There is a way for him to still get these fights, but there's no way, in my opinion, at this point, to just walk into one of these fights now. There's just not. He needs to build more hype. Like, now, people will be watching, though. When he boxes, people will be paying attention. They're like, let's see what he's got. And if he goes out and he starches his opponents, then we've got something. Now you've got something. And you can be like, if he can knock that guy out like that, you can burr. That's his pathway to winning a boxing heavyweight championship now. Now, I know everybody's going to comment, there's no way he's ever going to win a heavyweight title, whatever. I'm just saying, to get one of those fights, that is the way. That is the only way, in my opinion, at this point. So now he's going to have to fight for it again. Like he's done every single step of the way for his entire journey. He's always done it the hard way. Now, people who had 6 brain cells to rub together would have bet against Francis every single step of the way. From, I'm going to make it from Africa to Europe. Even that is like the odd. I mean, he had to try and fail like 11 times just on one leg of the journey. So betting against Francis is a good way to go poor. You know, God damn, I don't know if you guys can hear this. This is an insane thunderstorm right now. But yeah, so that's what he's gonna have to do. Bottom line, dude. That is what he's gonna have to do. Apparently there is a big story. Hold up. George Masvidal defends. Okay, so yeah, so let's switch gears to Nate Diaz. Yeah, so George Masvidal defended Nate Diaz, and and says that Nate Diaz was fully justified. This dude ran up on him. It was self-defense. You can't violate people's personal space. And it's true. Dude, the new video of Nate, I would love to show it to you guys. Actually, right after this, just go to my shorts, because I posted a short with the new video that lays everything out, and it got age restricted. So if I put it in this video is going to get age restricted, so I can't put it in there. But bottom line, the new angle, Nate is completely exonerated. He tried to avoid the fight. Like, that guy ran up on him 1,000%. This guy for sure was going to sneak punch Nate Diaz, 1,000%. He's walking out like he saw Nate and just rolled. He rolled right up on him, which actually makes it way funnier. You know what? Actually, I'm going to do a whole other video on this. I love you guys. Let's stay in touch. Love you guys. Peace.